This episode opens with Hideo and Jill. Camilla remains close to Hideo after he presents Jill with a few items. Jill makes the decision to depart, but not before giving the rooster specific directions. Leave His Majesty's thoughts undisturbed. He should also maintain proper etiquette while foraging for sustenance, acknowledging her presence with a greeting and concurring with her statements before her exit. Jill and Zeke then proceed swiftly on their journey, Zeke cautioning her against drawing undue attention during their arduous travels. The narrative then moves to their arrival in a bustling urban center, where a merchant expresses gratitude to Jill with a gift of fresh fruit. The story then transitions to a commander addressing a formation of individuals arranged in soldierly ranks. She declares this day to be exceptional, as each person will encounter their designated dragon. The dragon's reaction, either a respectful bow or its absence, will serve as an indicator of their compatibility. At that very instant, Rosa, the Crimson Dragon, emerges, prompting the commander to elucidate the Draconian hierarchy based on scale pigmentation. Silver scales represent the highest echelon, descending through black, crimson, orange, yellow, green, and ultimately, brown or gray, the least potent. She clarifies that in instances of identical scale color, eye color dictates precedence. Golden eyes hold the highest esteem, while purple eyes signify the lowest. No dragon possesses both silver scales and golden eyes, save for Ravi, the Dragon King. So that's how it is, Jill muses internally. Ravi is the Dragon King, despite being such a frivolous, light-hearted dragon. The commander proceeds to explain that black dragons hold the second tier of authority, just beneath Ravi. Following them are the Crimson Dragons. Like Rosa, a dragon knight standing mirrors that of their dragon companion. She also points out the blue badges adorning the recruits, a hue absent in dragon coloration, which will be a factor in the dragon's assessment of them. Should Rosa spurn a candidate, there's no cause for alarm, as additional dragons will soon arrive to evaluate their prowess and establish their ranking. A greeting from Rosa, however, signifies progress towards advancement. Zeke is the first to approach, his apprehension palpable. Rosa lets out a snort, propelling him to the ground. The commander chuckles, assuring him it's not a complete failure, but suggests he withdraw and refrain from further attempts. Zeke expresses his frustration, questioning his inherent weakness. The commander soothes him, advising him against excessive rumination. Every other individual steps forward, each rejected by Rosa, until only Jill remains. Jill advances, but Rosa fixes her with an intense gaze, then behaves erratically, attempting to lash out. Jill narrowly avoids the attack. With an air of conjecture, the commander intervenes, urging Jill to retreat. Zeke swiftly scoops Jill up. The narrative shifts to Jill's eventual homecoming, where she receives a warm welcome from Hadel. She barely registers his presence, however, stating her need for repose in her chambers. Visibly distressed, Jill laments her perceived inadequacy. I'm utterly hopeless. Extra dragons despise me. I'm incapable of becoming a dragon knight. I also lack any magical ability, and I remain unable to see my lord, Ravi. This implies I'm insignificant to His Majesty Hideo. Just then, Hideo requests entry. He informs her that Zeke relayed the events, and reassures her that setbacks are commonplace. He teases her lightheartedly, claiming that her perceived weaknesses are irrelevant to him. He emphasizes his desire for her to be his wife, regardless of any perceived shortcomings. Jill then confesses her love for him, catching Hideo completely by surprise, his face flushing crimson. She requests her preferred meal, which Hideo prepares for her. As she eats, she contemplates her desire to bring joy to this compassionate man. Abruptly, she expresses her wish to see a black dragon with golden eyes. Hideo, taken aback, admits to never having encountered such a creature. At that precise moment, Ravi, disguised in human form, inquires about Jill's interest in this specific type of dragon. Jill explains that the colors would complement His Majesty's appearance, black hair and silver eyes, just like him. She departs, leaving Hideo flustered, murmuring to himself about her charm and the depth of his affection. The scene transitions to Jill's arrival at the War Guild for her daily assignment. A guild representative informs her of her patrol duties within the town, precluding her participation in the day's training exercises. She is directed to join the unit stationed at Fountain Square, using her blue badge for identification. Expressing her gratitude, Jill sets off. During her patrol, Jill collects intelligence on various matters, including the lack of uniforms for the trainees. She encounters a striking young man named Lawrence, who greets her enthusiastically. Jill immediately recognizes him. Lawrence was an exceptionally capable military aide in her former unit, renowned for his astute decision-making in combat and unwavering support during the war. As they converse, Lawrence observes that her name is identical to the daughter of Margrave Servalil of Kredos. This unsettles Jill, who quickly diverts the conversation, inquiring about the absence of their other unit members. Lawrence explains their deployment on patrol duty a month prior, adding that attendance has been noticeably lacking recently. Observing Jill's solitary arrival, he commends her intuition and suggests they commence their patrol together. As they walk, Lawrence elucidates that students exhibiting dragon compatibility begin by attending to the dragon's needs, while those deemed incompatible are assigned patrols to familiarize themselves with the surrounding area. Jill struggles to grasp his reasoning, so Lawrence clarifies that this is merely his personal conjecture, but he posits that safeguarding the town fosters a conducive environment for the dragon's birth and development. Consequently, dragons tend to form stronger bonds with those dedicated to the town's protection. Jill mentions the perceived instability within the capital, alluding to the Hideo/Hadis situation. Lawrence understands her reference and explains that while the lords are ostensibly investigating the veracity of the narrative, they are, in actuality, observing the shifting power dynamics. He then poses a pointed question to Jill. On the Emperor's 20th birthday, will Jord be deceased? Jill replies that despite the issued wanted posters, no search parties have been dispatched. Lawrence remarks that the Duchy of Neutral exhibits a predictable inclination towards neutrality. The Dragon Knights, being an elite force crucial for maintaining peace, requires skilled operatives working covertly. This, he explains, accounts for the delayed expulsion of those lacking dragon compatibility, viewing it as a process of elimination. Jill inquires why Lawrence doesn't share this insight with the others, to which he reiterates its speculative nature. He then reveals the existence of rumors circulating about her. Jill reacts with annoyance, asserting that rumors compromise the integrity of gathered information. Lawrence mentions the rumored explanation for the Duchy of Neutral's reluctance to dispatch Commander LNZ to conduct the search. At this juncture, a man arrives, requesting the immediate delivery of a message to Her Highness, Alenzi. He introduces himself as Ristart, the second prince of the Raf Empire. He escorts them to Alenzi, who cautions Ristart against impulsive actions. Ristart, irritated, remarks on her condescending treatment and retorts sharply. He takes a sip from his cup, lamenting the poor quality of the tea, emphasizing his usual provision of superior tea for his dragon knights. Throughout this exchange, Jill observes the comfortable rapport between Ristart and Alenzi, their casual banter indicative of a close relationship. Ristart then inquires about potential alliances. Alenzi indicates a student present who seeks his patronage, cautioning him that divulging this information would necessitate her elimination. Ristart notes his uncle's self-proclamation as the new emperor, having deposed the imbecile, and the widespread knowledge of the unrest stemming from the fabricated rebellion. Ristart informs Alenzi that either his uncle or Hadis must possess the genuine celestial sword, a relic lost for 3 centuries, which his uncle claims to have recently recovered. Alenzi recognizes Ristart's resolve, perceiving his belief in Hadis as the true dragon emperor. Jill, overhearing their dialogue, is unsettled by their harsh words, yet senses their underlying goodness and mutual support. Ristart continues, mentioning rumors of Hadis's marriage to a woman of dubious origins, criticizing his perceived foolishness. Alenzi counters that despite acknowledging Hadis's legitimacy, an alliance remains impossible. She explains that her mother originated from the neutral duchy, while Ristart's mother hailed from the Duchy of Lirazats. Their family's support stems from their bloodlines, carrying the ancient legacy of the 3 great houses. As members of the Raf imperial family, they cannot condone their uncle's recklessness. Ristart points out that neither the Duke of Neutral nor the Duke of Liazats would ever endorse Hadis. "You expect us to assist Hadis in seizing control?" he asks. "My family remains neutral, and I bear few burdens. I won't oppose him, but that's the extent of my commitment." At that moment, Jill interjects. The commander, spotting Jill, approaches to address the incident with Rosa. She expresses her apologies to Jill, relieved by her lack of serious injury. Ms. Sins, the commander, admits her astonishment at Rosa's behavior, suggesting that instead of a threatening display, Rosa recognized Jill as an equal. The research team intends to investigate further. Doctor dismisses the need for such meticulous work, volunteering to take Jill under his wing. He asserts that Rosa, a crimson dragon with golden eyes, would not object. The commander concurs, and Ristart expresses his gratitude, taking Jill under his care. On the verge of tears, Hadis sighs, as they depart. Ristart addresses Jill. "You're still a trainee. I served in this unit for roughly a year. The neutral Dragon Knights represent the pinnacle of the elite. There's nothing you can't learn here. Furthermore, I formed numerous friendships during my tenure, and my military adjutant enlisted around the same time as me." Jill inquires about the simultaneous departure of multiple knights. Ristart replies, "I believe the neutral Dragon Knights gained valuable experience during that period as well." Later, Ristart speaks to his trainees. "As a senior knight, I welcome your questions." One trainee jests that Jill, as his assistant, might concoct a dreadful beverage for him. Ristart laughs, advising caution. He adds, I joined concurrently with her. She lacks proficiency in sewing and domestic tasks, but who cares about such things? I've verified her qualifications, and she's certainly the least suited to be anyone's aide, but her swordsmanship is exceptionally remarkable. Jill is heartened by his words, thinking to herself, he's a truly decent individual. Ristart then leads Jill to Rosa. Jill is apprehensive, wondering if the dragon will react negatively again. She tells herself not to dwell on it. Rosa observes Jill briefly before turning away, leaving Ristart dumbfounded. He calls out to Rosa, but Jill remarks, she frequently disregards me. This time it seems like she evaded you. Ristart responds, I've only witnessed such behavior once before, with Hadis/Rave, when she first encountered my inept younger brother. Jill becomes pensive, but Ristart pursues her, demanding to know her true identity and what she is concealing. The scene changes to Jill's return home. She appears dejected as Hadis greets her, observing her difficult day. Zeke inquires about her assignment, and she explains their separate postings and independent work. Jill then requests that the others refrain from preparing Zeke's dinner, intending to harvest cabbage for him. Suddenly, Ristart appears, exclaiming, Finally, I located you. I never suspected you'd be so close. What are you doing? Hadis replies casually, gathering vegetables. Ristart's temper flares. I assumed you'd be preparing for your resistance. Accompany me immediately. I'm escorting you to our sister. Zeke, bewildered, asks for clarification. Jill explains, he's here for Hadis. It appears he tracked me. I lowered my guard, but they would have discovered us eventually. I deemed it preferable for him to find us first. He's a prince, yet he personally sought out His Majesty. I don't believe he's hostile. I'm relieved to know His Majesty awaits me here. Hadis interjects, shouting at Ristart, I'm remaining here, preparing meals daily, awaiting my bride's return. Moreover, they banished me from the capital. Exasperated, Ristart yells back, cease your childish behavior. I despise that aspect of you. He declares his departure and his intention to establish this location as the new imperial capital. It's not an issue, as I'm the emperor regardless. Zeke wonders aloud if they can truly abandon their current lives, emphasizing the need to persuade His Majesty. Jill responds resolutely, I'll ensure it, even if I must resort to force.